Hello everyone and welcome back to Fun with Fitzy. This is part 2 of Google Forms and we're going to get into a little bit more of the details. So let's go back to the form that we were working on and let's talk about some of the other things you can do. So one of the things you might want to do is move one of the questions you have to a different spot because you feel like it doesn't make sense where it is anymore. Basically, if I wanted to move this second question over the first question, I just grab it and drag it. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do when you add a question is, or when you go into that field, add item, if you drop down the arrow, you can do things like add a section header and a page break. So for example, if I wanted to do 3 different parts to this, I could put in a section header. Let's call this part 1. And then I can drag it and put it at the very top because it would be part 1. And then let's say I wanted to do part 2. I could do the same thing, do a section header, part 2. And again, you can put in description, whatever you want in there. And let's say this is going to be part 2. So now we have part 1 up there, part 2, and you can do the same for part 3. We won't do that. But so basically what you can see is there's now section headers in your quiz. The other thing you might want to do is add page breaks. Some quizzes you only want 1 or 2 questions per page. So if you were to go back in there and add a page break, you can put that anywhere you want it. So let's say I wanted our first question, tell me about yourself and what is your name, and I put just a page break here. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to put next just for fun, and let's see what that looks like. So there we have the first part, and then when you hit continue, well, it won't let me continue because I haven't put anything in here. So let's put something in there, and there's my next part. So that's something you might want to do. And finally, you could put images, which I often will do if there's a quiz or whatever. You can take a picture, you can use a URL, you can go to your Google Drive, or you can even search from here. So let's say I want to put a picture of a dog in here. And then you could use all the search features that we were learning about in class and whatnot, but let's say I wanted that dog in there, hit select, and there's our dog. And so let's take a look at our, again, we can't go on because those are mandatory questions, but there's our picture. So sometimes you might want to put a picture in your quiz, and likewise, you might want to insert a video. So just add, and there it is. So we've been through all of these different features. And just a couple of additional things I'd like to show you before the end of this is the advanced features. So for example, let's go back to what is your name, and let's put it back in the proper spot. Let's say, in order to edit it, you click on edit. By the way, if you wanted to copy any question, you could duplicate it. If you don't like it anymore, you can delete it. But if you go into advanced settings here, there's a few things that you can do. So let's say you wanted this to make sure it is a text field. You can just click on text, and then there's a whole bunch of things that you could put. So it contains, so for example, if this was an email, what is your email? You could make this, click on advanced setting, click on text, and click on email address. And it's going to make sure that's a correct email address with the @ symbol in there, or URL. We'll make sure it's a proper URL. Sometimes you run into these problems when you're filling in a quiz yourself and you don't fill in the field correctly. Well, these are sometimes how they do it. Another thing that you can do is with number. The number has to be greater than a certain number, less than, equal to. This would be something that I would like to do in a quiz. And a regular expression. this is something that we could do. Sometimes I'll put a password on a quiz, so I'll use that, and I want it to match exactly what I have given you as a password, and therefore you guys can't start the quiz unless you have that. So a bunch of features like that. So one last thing I wanted to show you is, let's just go again and view the form and fill in some of the questions. Okay, and I like chocolate ice cream. Okay, let's say I like purple because these are pretty nasty colors. My favorite teacher is Miss Sharma. I like business very much. I love dogs. I don't like cats. Fish are alright. I like school. I like music, but I can't play music. But anyways, let's pretend my birthday is 2010. I'm really young. And my birth, let's say it's July 3rd. And what time did I like to start school every day? 6 o'clock p.m. because I don't like mornings. And then I submit. So again, I wanted to show you where you're going to be able to see the responses that you get. So up here, there's a response field. If you click on it, it will allow you to accept responses. Sometimes you might want to stop accepting responses. Maybe your quiz is over. You just click on that and it'll turn it off. It'll say this form has been turned off. So I want to keep that turned on. But in order to view the responses, click on that. And then what happens is it creates a Google spreadsheet with all of your responses in here. So there's all my questions, and these are all the answers that I just filled in. So every time someone fills out your survey, it would come in here and it'll stamp the time and date of when they actually did it. And that's where you get your results. But keep in mind that's a Google Sheet and that's a Google Form. Okay. So I hope that helps. That's most of what you're going to need to get through this next part of our course. And hope you enjoyed.